All righty, let's get started if everyone's in, and there will be maybe a few people joining. Can you hear me okay? Kathy? All right. And Tom, I think you muted yourself, but you can unmute yourself when you need to. So let's get started. So I'm John Schneider, and there are about 60 or so people joining here, and probably a few will join shortly. So I just want to introduce myself and just say a few things about me for those of you new to me. Probably a lot of you know me and know me well. We've lived in Viroqua here since 1996. Is when we moved here. I was a school counselor for about 9 or 10 years. I was an assistant principal at Sparta High School. I actually served on the school board here in Viroqua for a few years. I was an assistant principal here at Viroqua 512 for about 4 years, and I've been middle school principal for about 13 years. Jenny and I have 3 daughters who started their education at Viroqua area schools and completed their education here, and they've all gone on to college and really done well. And I don't give credit to Jenny and myself for that necessarily. I give a lot of that credit to all of the teachers here. This is a wonderful place, and I just can't say enough about the teachers here and what they've given our daughters. So what do I like to do? If you know me well, you know I like to do art. One of the things I love to talk about and do is kayak on Lake Michigan, and then just staying physically active outdoors, doing just about anything. It's great. So thank you very much for joining. It is my hope that through the details here I'll present, that I answer a lot of questions you may have in the next 15, 20 minutes or so through the details I'll present. And at that time, I will look at the chats. I'm going to flip my screen here. Look at the chats and begin responding to some of those. So hopefully I'll answer a lot of the detailed questions through my presentation. There is a middle school FAQ page under the district website. If you go to district and then COVID updates, you will see our all 3 building levels FAQ pages, where a lot of this outline is actually in there for your reference. And I will update questions in there later as well. So I would just want to remind everyone the chats, when you type something in, everyone can see it. So just a simple question of respecting confidentiality about your children and everyone's children, that'd be wonderful. And my email, of course, is on the district website. If you want to email me with specific questions later, that would be great. This is being recorded, and we'll post this on the website later as well. I'd just like to recognize a few people, just so that everyone knows that this isn't just John Schneider sitting here thinking this stuff up. We have a team called the District Leadership Team, comprised of representatives from each building and some district-wide individuals. And they have worked rigorously over the last month, bringing all of this, helping us bring all this together in partnership. And I can't say enough about the good work they've done. And this is going to sound cliche-ish, but from being in education for a number of years, going to a lot of conferences, talking to other administrators, and there are discussions about Board of Educations, and I would just like to just publicly say thank you to our Board of Education members. They are supportive, they understand our needs, they challenge us, they make us better, and this is a great place because of them. So thank you to our Board of Education. They really do what it takes to make this a great place. Obviously, we have some new administrators in the district. Kathy Reed, Director of Student Services, Pat Olbert, Elementary Principal, Tom Burkhalter, Superintendent, and Jason Kress has been here he's starting his 3rd year, and then Mike Brendel's been here a few years, 2nd year. So an absolutely wonderful group of professionals to work with. We have, they've only been here a month and a half, and I wrote my little board report. We've traveled much further than a month and a half. So thank you for being here. You guys are awesome. So keep up the great work. In the planning of how does a school day work for 380 plus students, with the individual needs of students, the individual. Yes. Oh, somebody else is live. So in planning all of this, it is hard, very difficult to develop one system to meet all of the students' needs, all of the parental requests. And we want to try to do diligence and respect all of those requests as equally as possible. So in saying this, I will miss something. I'm just going to say that up front. The plan isn't perfect. So what I have missed, sometimes we don't see exactly. So I need your communication back, identifying your specific needs so I can fill in the gaps that I've missed. So that would be wonderful.
I hate to jump in here. If you are not muted, please mute at this time.
All right. So one thing I would like to say is, I'm going to just jump ahead in my thought, is the survey that is out right now and active that is due August 16th. If I could ask parents to please complete that, that is an important survey that will give us more accurate numbers so that we can develop accurate class sizes so our plan can have efficacy and be correct. So please do the survey. And if you know someone who doesn't know about the survey, help us figure out who those parents are so we can get as many surveys completed as possible. Part of when we're putting this plan together with my many years serving as middle school principal, it is my goal to put together a plan to achieve what students want. And how do I know that? From the years of watching students, hearing them, interacting with them, understanding them. And how I summarize that is I believe they want to continue their education. They want to be social. They want to be involved in athletics and arts. They want to continue their development as normal as possible. So hopefully when you see the details of the plan I'm going to talk about in a minute, there are some changes, but hopefully a lot of it is similar so that we can continue to meet the needs of students and give them the best that they deserve. So, and this being said, you know, you hear things about, oh, this is only going to last a month or two. So it's our goal and it's our intention to make this reopen to last all year long. It is none of our intentions to wait for an outbreak to close. And this is achieved by each one of us. So I'm going to harp for a little minute here. So it is our obligation, all of our obligations, staff, students, parents, everyone we have contact with, to try to be as responsible as we can. So I don't want to get involved with saying how we should conduct our lives. But I do need to stand up and say to all of us, it is our obligation to have these difficult discussions and decisions so that we can be open all year. So with that said, parents, I ask genuinely, if you are exposed or if you're involved in an activity that you are exposed or have symptoms in your family or around you, say something, speak up, keep your children home. I would so much rather be safe. I can't mute. I'm supposed to mute somebody, but I can't. Mr. Brendel's going to help me in our second notes right here. So if your number is 697-72645, if you could mute yourself, that'd be great. 2645, if you could mute yourself, that'd be great. Thank you. So I've lost my thought here. Mr. Brenda's going to try to mute here. Just let me hear.
It's really distracting.
Oh, okay. All righty. So I'll keep talking here while he's doing this. So please speak up. I would so much rather be safe and keep the 380 plus students safe here than to have one little thing overlooked and then have all of us pay the consequence of that. My goals this evening are to give you many details, but more importantly, my goal is to learn your needs that we've not addressed. So please speak up even after the meeting, send me an email or let me know somehow of what you need so we can meet those needs. Again, on the FAQ form, I will update questions from the survey to address that. So part of your thought right now, I would like it to be, or I think it should be, is, okay, John, how are you going to communicate back to us? How will we know you've heard our needs and how are you going to get back to us? So through the FAQ form is one way But I do plan to and want to have just an open forum Zoom meeting at some point soon to cover the material that you have questions about tonight. And I think what I'll do is I'll just post that, or maybe add a couple of them over the next week or two. Just post the link on the middle school website page. I'm just thinking off the top of my head on the announcement page. So to watch for that. And I think that's important because you will have questions. So let's get started with some details that I think you're most curious about. And as Mr. Burkholder said, about every 4 or 5 weeks, we will be assessing all of this to see what our next step is. So this is a plan to start the year. This is not a plan to finish the year. So hopefully, my hope is that it goes well and students are all back in person at some point. So back to school night, some of the details that I think you have questions about. Back to school night, obviously, the gathering of large people. Now whatever Mr. Brendel did, can't see my chats, so I'm gonna need Mr. Brendel back here to fix my chats. So hopefully he didn't go too far. So large gatherings, of course, we can't have. So what teachers, middle school teachers and I met today for a little over an hour, and we went over many of these details. So we're gonna try to achieve what back to school night does the first day of school, to try to give students that opportunity. So the forms they will get and be sent home for parents to return the next day. Grade 5 teachers will hand out locks. Other forms will be available in the foyer. So we're gonna try to achieve back to school night on the first day of school, the first few hours as well. It's not nearly as exciting. I know we all feel bad because 5th graders are excited about coming to the middle school, and they're nervous. So I do know Mrs. Opright and Ms. Carls did do some videotapes and sent them to students, but you know, for me, the videotape doesn't stand up at all to doing that type of event in person. So technology, how will we handle technology? If needed with the full-time virtual students and in-person hybrid students, grades 7 and 8, we will be providing the necessary technology. Bring your own device is always encouraged. And so, you know, if you have your own device, that is wonderful. We will be having another technology survey or in the next week or so to help us guide which students, which families need technology and how much and what type, etc. So when you get that survey, if you need technology, please fill it out so we can develop that plan. Within our building, to try to keep the contact surfaces and student touching, we know middle school students love to touch everything around them and just, they're full of engagement. We're gonna have a Chromebook cart for 5th grade that will stay with 5th grade. 6th grade will have their own Chromebook cart as well. 7th grade and ELA and math, English language arts and math, we'll plan on prioritizing computer lab 1 for them. And then 8th grade ELA and math, computer lab 3, and then for science and social studies, 7th and 8th grade computer lab 2. And that again is to try to keep the surface touch as minimal as possible. We will continue as normal the general day-to-day rules within the parent-student handbook. We'll have our announcements. We'll have student of the month in the honor roll. Staff will be encouraged to wash hands as normal, as often as possible, and that will increase as well too. We want students, and I know Mr. Anderson is crossing his fingers that athletics will stay intact, and so are we. That's such an important part of the middle school and high school day. The arts, I get emails from parents saying, please, Mr. Schneider, whatever you do, make band happen. Don't, because students touch art supplies all over, don't remove art from their day. So that's so important. The one thing I do want to say that if a parent elects to, or if a child is in, a 7th grader is out for cross country, let's say, obviously they're in person 2 days and the other 3 days are virtual. So we will need your help in transporting your child to practice on those days, those virtual days. So of course, all students, there, when you click on that, it doesn't, that's all I get. Maybe there's only one message. Can you scroll up or down? Okay, it's just it's a smaller screen. So, um, so, res- so hopefully athletics does continue. So we will offer, let me just interject this. Because a student chooses virtual, I feel like sometimes we've imagined this whole different district. Because a student does choose to go virtual with Edmentum initially, they are still enrolled as a middle school student here. They are still a Viroqua middle school student, and we will treat them that way. We will provide support. We will have Ms. Carls, our counselor, our school counselor, will be their contact person. So because you've chosen virtual, and with all due respect on our behalf for that decision, you will not be forgotten or overlooked. So if a student who goes virtual wants to attend classes here, or a couple classes here, we'd like to try to limit it up to 2 just to make sure we're managing class sizes. Students are more than welcome to do that. So if your child goes virtual and wants to still be in band or take algebra as an 8th grader or whatever class, that is certainly okay. We will approve that. So let's talk about what's new. Oh, pictures in yearbooks, buying yearbooks, all of that we plan to continue as normal. So what is new and different? Well, facial coverings, of course, we've covered that. I think everyone knows that. They'll be required inside by staff and students all day. I'll speak to 2 brief times when the facial coverings should be removed. And if a student, I'll just put it out there right away, if you as a parent or your child absolutely refuses to wear a facial covering, let's talk about that before the first day of school. The last thing I want to do is put the student or you in a situation that this issue becomes troublesome. So if there is complete refusal of a facial covering, please contact me and we will talk about that and look at our options. So we're going to try to set it up so students take their materials for what they need for 2 blocks at a time. And that will help with transfer time, because for a teacher to clean a desk and technology or any supplies they use, that's going to take a few minutes. And then there's a drying time that you can't interrupt. So the drying time there has to be efficacy in the drying time. So that will take 3 to 5 minutes, 8 to 10 minutes perhaps. I just don't know the exact time yet. So we're going to try to minimize student moving from class to class as much as possible, even though they will be traveling to their classes. Parents and guests, we're going to ask you to have a table outside, and I'm not sure exactly how we're going to work this out until I talk to Mr. Kress and Mrs. Lear and Mrs. McClellan. Have a table outside for drop-off. So we're trying to minimize people in the building as much as possible. So, and hopefully you respect that. And we'll work out a good plan, hopefully. Guest speakers and field trips, we're going to hold off on those for students for now. Again, to mitigate the spread of COVID as much as possible. We will approve experiential outdoor learning activities for students. And what that means is if a small group of students can socially distance on a bus and go test water somewhere or do an outdoor learning event of that nature, that is still okay, all right? And on that note, I've been asked a lot of times, can teachers take students outside and conduct class outside? Absolutely, absolutely. Class size is important to me, and I know it's important to you. I will be, sometime next week, once the survey comes in and we have time to look at it and sort through it on the 17th and 18th of August, I do want to post class sizes because I know that is a piece of information you are looking for a decision. And it's unfortunate that the timing's wrong, that I won't have that information until the parent surveys come in. So, but I will be posting class sizes. It is my goal to try to keep class sizes at 15 or under. And that doesn't mean every class size we will meet that goal. I think I'm pretty safe in saying we'll meet that goal for 7th and 8th grade. And we need to look closer at the 5th and 6th grade numbers as they come in. But that's my goal, because I know that will be a question. Grade level teams. So this is something we learned from online last spring. We have met as teams. So a grade level team, just to explain that is all the teachers in the same grade level. And when I say that a vertical content team, that is like all the language arts teachers, all the math teachers, grades 5, 6, 7, and 8. So I want to have different conversations with both teams and all of them together, that for the online, for the virtual students who are in person but 3 days home, to use Google Classroom, and teachers will be developing their lessons and recording them on Screencastify and sending those to students. So there is a consistency amongst all the teachers with how it's delivered, how much time it's delivered, how much homework is asked, how assessments are completed, how often the assessments are completed. So we will be looking at all of that and coming together as a team on exactly how that will work. So there is consistency. So you as parents and students know what to expect. So in the classroom, we're going to try to put desks in, facing the same direction, socially distanced as reasonably possible. Students should get their supplies for 2 blocks at a time, so there's less travel and less locker contact. We still will have full accountability. We still will be taking the STAR assessment, STAR math and reading assessment. For math, the iReady assessments. We will still be doing all of that as they are goals. It is important to us to see how students grow academically, and we still want to report on that, even though with the COVID slide and other ways, methods of instruction, we still want to pay attention to that and give that its merit. So how do students enter and exit? How do they go to snack, lunch, recess, class, specials, etc.? So students will be traveling. Within the Master Bell schedule, we have broken up dismissal times by grade level and classes so that hopefully only one grade level is in a hallway at a time, to keep the hallways as clear as possible. We're going to stagger all the passing times. So here are a few details that I think are important. 5th and 6th grade lockers will be assigned alphabetically as always. 7th and 8th grade lockers will be assigned alphabetically, but split up based on the A group and B group. So to try to create as much space between the lockers for 7th and 8th graders as much possible when they're here on the days they are here. So students riding the bus will still enter and exit through the cafeteria as normal. What we're going to try to do is have VAMs in 5th and 6th grade enter the doors by the pool in the middle school gym. There is a ramp there for those who need that type of entrance. So we would like to have students enter around 7:50 to 7:55 a.m. and through that, and to get their materials and go to class, so students aren't congregating and hanging out. And that's a change. And those 15 minutes of social time are so important to middle school students, and we know that. However, the more opportunities we create like that, the higher the risk. To try to keep the halls clear at the end of the day, I'm gonna have VAMs in 5th grade be dismissed at 2:25, and then 6th grade dismissed at 2:30. So the same for 7th and 8th grade, or similar. Trillium in 7th grade and 8th grade should enter through the foyer if they're not riding the bus, and 7:50 to 7:55 to get their materials for the first 2 blocks and then go to class. And then Trillium in 7th grade will exit at the end of the day, be dismissed at 2:25, and 8th grade at 2:30. Students will go for snack. Let's move on to snack. So we still want students to be up and moving. Movement is so important for middle school students. So students will go to the cafeteria to get their snack. And then if there is a line, hopefully we'll do it in a way there isn't a line. But if there is a line, they'll be asked to stand 3 floor tiles. They're about a foot each apart while waiting in line. They'll return to the hallway near their classroom to spread out at least 3 floor tiles apart. This is one time now during the school day inside when students will remove their facial covering. And then they will eat their snack and socialize a little bit. And then obviously when they're done, return their facial covering and return to class. And in some aspects, that will be very normal to them. Instead of sitting in their desk next to each other, they'll be spread out a little bit in the hallway. So hopefully that still is a good thing for students and a safe thing, as safely as possible. The dismissal time and rotation, so VAMs will leave at 8:25, fifth grade at 8:30. Because of the number of students in fifth and sixth grade, we're going to spread that out. So sixth grade will go at about 9:15, and then seventh grade will travel up and Trillium around 8:50. So there's a 20-minute spread there after fifth grade, and then eighth grade at 8:55. So hopefully that's spread out enough that students, there won't be a large amount of students in the hallway at one time in the cafeteria or in any part of the hallway together. Lunch, very similar. But a little bit different. So what's similar about it is during inclement weather days, middle school students have recess in the commons. And sometimes we go to the gym or to the library as well. But lunch will be served from the snack bar and eat in the commons and foyer with tables spread out. We'll have about 3 students per table and hopefully about 6 feet between the tables. Students will just get their lunch and eat without being dismissed, waiting at tables and being dismissed. And then upon completion of, and this is the second time and the only other time students will be asked to remove their facial coverings is to eat lunch. Then they'll return their facial coverings and then head out to recess, head outside to recess. So those are the 2 times when facial coverings will be removed. So all parents know that. And then they'll head out for recess. So lunch for 5th graders will be at about 11:03, 6th grade 11:25. And because of specials, because of the master schedule, if you look at it, 7th and 8th grade will have lunch at 12:35 instead of 11. So it's difficult to schedule this, and it's difficult in a non-COVID year because we have 700, 800 students in this building and the cafeteria staff to provide lunches for all of these students in an hour-and-a-half time frame, and they do a phenomenal job. So, and we have to make room in there for high school. So this is kind of how it looks right now. A few for the first few days of school, some of the priorities we're going to focus on is the personal, social, emotional, the affective domain. We all know students need to be in a place where they can optimize their learning. They need to know their teacher, know their classmates, trust their teacher, trust their surroundings. They have to, inside of their own AFAC, they need to believe that this is a good place and a safe place for them. So that, of course, is a priority. And it's going to be even more difficult because of COVID. Every student has internalized and understood this whole pandemic differently, and to overcome some of this so students can be relaxed and feel safe to learn is a difficult task to achieve. And we're going to focus on that, intentionally focus on that. We do every year as well, but with COVID, it changes the process up a little bit. And we're going to also invest time in case we don't last that long, being in person, provide the necessary training for students in Google Classroom, Screencastify, and Zoom. So hopefully, if something does happen, students will be prepared to learn online, being taught by their Viroqua area middle school teachers. So if you choose to go online virtual, if you're in that option, Ms. Carls, our school counselor, will serve as our site coordinator. That's the formal title of this role. And she will be talking to you about getting your student enrolled and all of the details. If you go to the middle school FAQ page and scroll way down to the bottom, I have put in there some links to learn a lot more about Edmentum and the programs. So if you invested some time with that, if you're seriously considering that, or you've made the decision to go that route, there is more information there. We do have, for those parents that will be going this direction as well, we will have an orientation for parents where the staff of Edmentum will be leading that as well, coming up soon. And we'll be in touch with you about when that is and how that will occur. And again, online, students will be held accountable for their task on time, their work, etc. Same as in school. If you are a parent of a Trillium Middle School student, those teachers will be handling all of the instruction online, virtual, and in person. And I believe, and I may misspeak here, but I think the VAMS E2, every now and then I have to think about just the VAMS E2 classroom over here because they are in our building. So everything I plan has to include them in the plan as well. So, and I believe those teachers, in case there's a VAMS parent listening, saying because they're located in the middle school, will they be part of the Edmentum and part of everything with middle school? And I believe the Heidi and Hannah will be taking care of providing the instruction in person and online for VAMS E2 students as well. So, and again, I can't say it enough, any student, regardless of virtual or in person, can attend 2 classes. And of course, all of this, whether it's in person or virtual, this is instruction by our teachers or by Edmentum staff who are accredited, and they do follow the state of Wisconsin standards. So the way I look at that is whether a student transfers from Madison to Viroqua mid-year or anytime, because this does happen, and it happens probably more frequently than is good for students. It's no different than transferring from Edmentum to here. We will take the students back without any delay, without any, once that decision is made and how it happens. So the one thing we are asking though with that is, if you are choosing Edmentum, we ask that you give it a 2-week period to really figure it out, assess it, think about it, and have some good conversation at home, some accountable conversation at home, and say, is this what you want to commit to? Obviously, having students bounce around from district to district or program to program slows the learning process down, and it has adverse effects, small or large, depending on the person. But once the 2 weeks has passed, what we would really like to do is say, let's give it a semester commitment. I am not naive enough to say that something won't come up that it won't work and you can't. So let's just pick a random date on November 13th. It's just there's something that comes up that says this just can't work and it's not going to work anymore. Then what I would encourage you to do is give me a call. Let's talk about it. Let's talk about your situation, what you need and how we can fix it. And let's make a decision then. So, but as much as possible, if you make that decision, let's try to stick with it and go from there. And the 7th and 8th grade, you will see on the FAQ sheet, I won't go through it, the groups right now to balance is so important. Class sizes is so important to think about. Right now, Mr. Kress and I, 7-12, we want it to be the same for high school and middle school. And I thank Mr. Kress for balancing this out. So we have right now our A group is A through K, Monday and Tuesday in-person learning, and then Wednesday, Thursday, Friday online learning. And then group B, L through Z, is in-person learning on Thursday and Friday, and then online learning Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. And the first week of school is the 4-day week, we know that. So we're gonna have students come like Tuesday and Wednesday. And then we'll get into our cycle of Monday, Tuesday, and Thursday, Friday eventually. And some of you may say, well, what's going on Wednesday? And the thing to think about is the teachers, 7th and 8th grade teachers, well, 5th and 6th grade students will be here Wednesday. They will be in person, they will be in school. But for 7th and 8th grade teachers, our teachers need to provide instruction in person on Monday and Tuesday and Thursday and Friday. So they will have students in front of them all day on those 2 days or 4 days. And Wednesday will be their day to develop and to record the 3 days worth of lessons for the 2 different groups on Wednesday. That takes time. And follow up, we all know that there are students that struggle online, and it takes what we learned last year. One of the biggest things I learned was how intense that was. Teachers came to me and said, John, this is so intense, trying to engage every student in the follow-up and the parent conversations. And it is very time consuming and very intense. And so they will be investing time doing that. So right now, I hope I've given you a lot of details about how the day will work. And hopefully you say not a whole lot has changed. And I think that's the goal. So I'm going to go through and start answering some comments from the chat right now. So students that are in special ed in classroom and lockers are upstairs, will they need to use those entrances described in emails, or will there be exceptions? You know, of course, excuse me, we need to meet the needs of the students. And to me, this is not just a special ed conversation, because the example I gave in the middle school staff meeting is if a student breaks their arm or breaks their leg, we need to do it differently, whatever it is, how they transition to classes, where they enter, where they exit, using the elevator, everything. So yes, there will be exceptions. The one thing I do want to say is, depending on their individualized educational plan, whether it be a special ed or a 504 student, there are other, like coming to school on Wednesday to work have additional time with their special ed teacher is certainly a very doable thing. So yes, absolutely, there are exceptions to every rule. Let's talk it through and make it right. How many hours on average will a student be logged on virtually with Edmentum? Oh, gee, that's a tough question, because it is a virtual program. I'm guessing it's going to be more than that of a student who comes in person. But I can say that it's probably going to be relatively similar to the 3 days when a student is home in 7th and 8th grade. I don't want to be, I'll just say it, I don't know the exact time, but I'm guessing that will be very similar to the 3 days a student is home learning online. How many different kids and different teachers will the 8th grade be in a room during at one time? In 8th grade, can a student, so yes, there are situations where a student can transfer to Edmentum and then transfer back as well. Again, the last thing we want to do to students, and I hope you as a parent say, the last thing I want to do to my child is bounce them around. I think we all can agree that that's not the best for students. So yes, the 8th grade number of students per room, I'll tell you what, I'll post that on Monday, probably Tuesday, the 18th or the 19th, with a more accurate number. I'm guessing it's going to be 15 to 17 right now, and that's a guess. So that's why the survey is so important. That's live right now, so that I can have an accurate number for you. I know you want an accurate number, and so do I, but that's the guess right now. School is Edmentum, if an in-school is suspended, or will the virtual happen through local teachers? Well, so that is a great question that we've talked about. So if something does, if the cases spike and we go all virtual, obviously we'll have to talk about that. But immediately, I think where we're at is our teachers, our Viroqua middle school teachers, will provide the virtual instruction for the in-person students who were enrolled in person. And obviously the Edmentum online students who were enrolled in that program from the beginning of the year will just continue with that. So hopefully that's a direct answer to that question. Will a positive case cause the suspension of all in-person school? There's so much science information about exposure, and if a student or a teacher is tested positive, what kind of facial mask, what type of quality of mask. I will never claim I am a medical expert. And the first thing I can commit to and promise you is that if there is an exposure or discussion of this nature, the first thing Mr. Burkhalter will do and I will do is communicate with those professionals and move on it. The last thing we want to do is be part of the spread of COVID and to be reckless with this. So
yeah, I can add a little bit on this, John. DHS is releasing information. I believe they released those things this afternoon. We will be looking into those. They did have a press conference. So what that'll look like is that they will make a recommendation to the local county, and the county will then make a recommendation to us on what those thresholds are based upon a percentage of your student population. That could be broken down into per classroom, per building, or for the district.
Yep. Good. Next question is, I don't like the option for students to have a medical permission to go maskless. I'll have to say I'm with you. However, with certain types of asthma and certain types of other conditions, it's difficult. Again, if it has to do with articulation or speech or a different learning issue, we do have different masks that will make it work. So I agree with that. But we also have to, I spoke to this, meeting the needs of everyone with one plan is difficult. So yes. Will there be a orientation? Will there be a way for them to know where to go, which doors? That's a tough one. And yes, I need to think about that. The next step of communication for us, for all three principals, is to get this communication out to students, what the roles are, what the expectations are, etc. And that will be coming in as brief a document so students read it. It's a skyward note to parents and students to discuss at home before school, how the school day looks. So that will be coming. A lot of parents refuse to stay home for sick kids. How will the school enforce? That's a great question. And please, I can't say it enough, and I'll say it as bluntly and honestly as possible. We are all responsible for the mitigation of the spread of COVID. If we opt to send our student, our child to school sick, and we infect a large population, I mean, that's one of my biggest fears, to be honest with you. I haven't talked about my fears, but please, parents, do not send your child. I said earlier, let's be safe and not be sorry. I'd much rather have a student miss a day or two of school than to have COVID and come to school. And one of the scariest things for me is the asymptomatic, and that's not just about students, it's about adults too. Adults can easily have a positive screen for this and be asymptomatic and never even know they have it. So that's another scary element to all of this too, but we will deal with that. I watched the Adventum overview video sent in the high school reopening planning letter. There was no video for sixth grade. No, because sixth graders aren't in high school. I found it unengaging, okay? I think it would be difficult for any child doing this very long each day. How do you provide with the virtual students an equitable education to the in-school option? I would suggest the option of, what's so difficult about this is what's engaging to one person is absolutely not engaging to the next person. We have some students who love to learn online and can't get enough of it. And we have another part of our student population that absolutely despises any technology. So that's a tough one. That's an individualized person issue, whether it's engaging or not. And how do we provide the virtual students with an equitable education option? Well, in person, I guess, is what I would say as much as possible. And if we do go all virtual, our Viroqua middle school teachers will be leading the virtual instruction. So that I said before, so that's okay. Can you provide workstations or computer lab time on virtual days for those who do not? That's a tough one. And I think the answer is no right now, because the whole purpose of what we're doing is to try to lessen the number of students in here at any one time, and the rotation of students from labs, because then a teacher has to clean that lab after they use it. So as of right now, no. The answer could be yes if you are a family that has perhaps multiple students and your service just can't support that. And again, if you have a unique situation to that, please communicate with me and let's figure it out. If parents have poor internet service and they need to upgrade, okay. I'm not sure how to respond to that one. If grades 5 and 6 went to AB days, is a way to facilitate teacher virtual learning, assuming average class size is currently around 24. AB days would have 12 students, of according to the initial survey, and students per class. If we gave teachers an extra prep on AB days, it would increase class sizes slightly, but give them a chance to prepare for the home virtual classes. Then students could do the same. And that's it. Benefits, saving money and time. I'm going to see who wrote that. Andrea. She's done more calculations tonight than I have. I've been talking. You know, and to everybody, I like what you're saying here. And I just need the numbers, and I've already spoken to Mr. Burkhalter about what the survey will bring. And if you were to push me on an issue right now, one of the issues that I am most uncertain about is this topic right here and what those class sizes look like and what direction we're going to go in. Because if all of the parents or too many say we are not going virtual, our class sizes, we will need a hard conversation about that. So, Andrea, but I like what you've written there, and most certainly I'm going to reference that again. Can virtual students participate in outdoor activities? Yeah, I'm going to answer that this way, Ben. Students who are virtual can still come in and take 2 classes every, on their rotation, 7th and 8th grade or 5th and 6th grade every day. So let's, yes, that is okay. And I have encouraged at our middle school meeting today, I encourage teachers to use the great outdoors. So as much as possible. And, we live in Wisconsin, and especially if you're an athletic director, we have inclement weather every other day during the fall sports and the spring sports as well. So that's a tough one to depend on teaching outdoors. So if my child starts the year in Edmonton and school closes going virtual for everyone, will learning be led? Again, let me just answer that first part. If a student starts at Edmonton and they're finding success with it and they like it, and we end up closing and going 100% virtual for all students, I would guess they would continue with Edmonton. That would be my response. And if a child starts in person and 3 days virtual by their Viroqua area school teachers, they would then be supported 5 days a week virtually by their Viroqua area middle school teachers. I hope I answered that question. Will my child be able to switch from Edmonton to VS teacher-led? Without saying, this is tricky. Every time a new question comes in, it bumps my whole screen up and I lose it. That's a tough one. And before I say yes or no to that, I spoke to the 1 semester commitment. Just to be bouncing around, let's try to stick to our commitment. But if there's a unique situation why a change has to occur, let's talk about that. Will they have to wear face masks in band? Mr. Thu is thinking about this, and band is not the only class, whether they wear it in choir as well. So this is a big discussion items, and there are certain instruments that still a partial covering could exist and help. I have been communicating with he's the band director in Pulaski, Wisconsin, Mr. Bush, who I graduated from high school with, how he is approaching this. And if you think about playing music, the movement of air, the movement of saliva, all of that needs some thinking and consideration. So that one, I am working on that answer in more detail. I know Mr. Thu is still doing his legwork and trying to figure out all the answers to make it as safe as possible. Well,
John, I'm gonna bounce in just for a quick second to give you your 8-minute warning here. So just want to make sure that you're aware we do have to cut this meeting before we start the high school meeting. So 8-minute warning. Thank you.
Yep. Will homework be sent home on paper, or will it? Oh, it just bounced up. Homework sent on paper, or keep it in the Chromebooks? I think it depends on the student. In 5th and 6th grade, it could be paper or on Google Classroom. In 7th and 8th grade, hopefully all homework will be communicated through either on paper, in person, or through Google Classroom. So, and of course, they can access Google Classroom on any device. Yes, and they would, you know, obviously receive help, allowed to do it in school to help prevent the back and forth. That's a tough one. I apologize, joined late. Can you please address how specific specials will work similar to any year with FAMs and all students. They will travel to their specials and be taught by their specials teachers. So that's the same with all students, Trillium, FAMs, and middle school students. Will the same classes be offered in Admentum as their schedules are in person? Admentum's classes, they do follow state standards of Wisconsin. They will have, the titles of the classes will be the same. What will probably be different, and I'm guessing, is their scope and sequence, what units they start with and end with. So I would guess that would be a little different, but in the end, they should cover the same material, relatively the same material. And how are we making sure of this? We have worked with, we moved here in '96, and I have almost 22 years of experience or so here. And we have partnered with, it's a company called Plato that Admentum has acquired over the years. Since I've been here, they are transparent, they are open, they are reputable, they are trustworthy. So this company called Admentum is not new to the Viroqua area schools. We have used them in different capacities my whole career here. So trust is to me is not an issue with Admentum or Plato. So it's good. For a student who has a pre-existing condition such as asthma, frequent bouts of yeah, and this is a very important question and a very good question. You know your child the best. You know their different health situations, whether it's asthma, a runny nose, a persistent cough. You know, I think it would be an error for you to say, because my child has asthma and they have this symptom again, and they've had it their entire life, that you go get them tested or you keep them home a lot. We just, you know, you're the parent that probably needs a higher level of awareness to really differentiate what's different about this cough or this mild illness, and this is what my child has always had. So that's a trust that we need to instill in you, and for you to be very aware of that. And hopefully I answered that as good as well as I can. Can a student continue on days online? So yeah, you know, a lot of this, the staying home sick for one day or a week, we have many students who, you know, break a bone or break an arm or get the flu or have a surgery. We have many students every year that miss a week or two of school. And so we're going to just approach it the same. Because the student stays home sick 1 day or 2 days or 3 days, the teachers work with them to get the student caught up. We don't need to abandon any program because they're home sick for a couple of days, or you choose as a parent just to keep your child home for 2 or 3 days because they have a symptom that is mysterious to you. So our teachers, that's no different than any other year. Can you expand on your comment? Virtual students can take 2 classes. Yes, for any homeschool student. Oh, by the way, I haven't mentioned the word homeschool once because none of this is homeschooling. So because a student is virtual, they are not homeschooled. Homeschooled is, they are solely taught by you with your resources and everything. So this is not homeschooling. But we offer any student in our district, homeschooled or anyone, to come and take a couple classes here all the time. So if you elect to have your child go Admentum, they are more than welcome to say, we want to come to school and take band or phy-ed or math. So a couple classes. Again, we need to be careful to manage class sizes. So that's the whole goal of all this, to mitigate the spread, to get life going again and mitigate the spread. Should we contact Mr. Zhu directly if our 6th grader is going virtual, wants to join? You can. We still need to get, I would prefer, if you contact Mr. Thu and you know him, that's wonderful, send him an email, but include Miss Carl's on it too, so she can get your child appropriately enrolled. I reached out to Mr. Thu and he responded that he is currently working on a schedule to depend on the number of persons, but yes, and I've said that many times, class size numbers are important and we don't want to exceed that to put students at risk. So yes, yes, there's some research singing, safe singing practices. Yes. Thanks, Fran. Yes, thank you. The music will be mandatory for 6th grade like in the past. That is a good question I haven't thought about. Yes, staff, thank you for that question. I told you at the beginning I would be looking for gaps and things I've missed, and this is one of them. You know, it may not be this year, just to keep the numbers down in that particular room, because that would be a lot of students. So that, and if we do say yes, because there are some state mandates we need to live up to, we would develop an AB day kind of system so that only half the students go on any one day. So that's a question I need to talk to Mr. Thu and the music teachers about. We're out of time. Thank you very much and look forward to more communication from all of us. So thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Have a great night, and tune into the high school meeting if you are interested, coming up in 1 minute. Thank you.
Thanks, see y'all.